Okay, so I decided to try and make one more commentary for my completely pointless gaming channel. You know, I should really try and revive this poor thing. Anyways, this was a script that I made as a see how well commentaries go before Medicare happened. After a small discussion with a few friends, and over time, I just rebranded it to Green Star Productions, a review-focused channel with some other content, and this script just sat back collecting virtual dust. I then decided to pick it up, shake out the plot bits, because fuck those, and then try to do this commentary. If this comes out well, I may try to make that fourth channel solely for commentaries. With that said, today I'm covering Screen Rants, a channel that I can only describe as a Watch Mojo clone focused on movies. Anyways, the video I'm covering is a video about 10 animated villains that are considered right. However, as it turns out, the reasoning behind most of these guys ranges from weak to mental gymnastics. With that said, let us begin. About half a minute in because I'm skipping the introductions and the reminder to subscribble, because as we all know, a YouTube channel is absolutely nothing without their subscribbles.
Absolutely impossible. We're on a cross-cut.
Shere Khan. Shere Khan is one evil dude. The terrifying Bengal tiger was the primary antagonist in the Jungle Book films, both the classic animated version and the recent live-action adaptation. Khan was merciless and had it out for the man-cub known as Mowgli. Considering Mowgli is just a child and hasn't done anything to warrant such hatred, we definitely sided against the tiger in this conflict. But let's stop and evaluate the beef when taking in what's going on around the jungle. No matter if you're looking at the conflict in the 1800s when the original book was written or in modern times, humans are doing some serious damage to the wildlife in regions like India. We came with weapons, hunted to the point of extinction, and burned down the jungle. Considering Shere Khan is a Bengal tiger, an animal that's on the endangered species list, he's rightfully worried about having a human so close to him.
Okay, now tell me, what has Mowgli done to this tiger that wasn't done out of self-defense? Considering that all he's done in the movie is meddle around in the affairs of other animals and hasn't really caused any harm, the reason you bring up here ends up making Shere Khan an overly paranoid pussycat, since Shere Khan hates humans out of fear of guns, something that this Indian boy clearly lacks. On top of that, Mowgli was raised by a Black Panther for a decade, which also means that he, at the very least, is able to handle the jungle life and prove that he, at the very least, respects nature. Next segment.
This is ludicrous.
Hey, Bozo, you got a brain in there? Take that!
Sid was a seriously troubled kid that wreaked mayhem, torture, and death upon unsuspecting toys. The plastic characters in Andy's bedroom trembled in fear before his antics, which resulted in a toy soldier being blown to bits and various other toys being mashed together. Pretty messed up stuff. But consider this, Sid actually isn't quite the villain we perceived him to be. While Hannah is nowhere as bad, Sid as the eldest took his upbringing quite poorly. Thanks to the scene where Buzz learned he was a toy, we know that Sid's dad is something of a lazy slob and likely a drunk. His mother doesn't seem to have any sort of positive relationship with him either, as she allows explosives to go off regularly in her backyard. It's not so crazy to think that Sid's morbid actions are actually a cry for help. He does them in plain view of his family, but fails to get any kind of discipline from them.
Bad parenting. He's not a real villain because of bad parenting. Look, I know humans aren't supposed to know that toys are alive for obvious reasons, but this just seems like a bad case of what the fuck. Even by this logic, that doesn't make it better, as it doesn't really make the actions towards the toys, which to the audience have been shown to be sentient, good. I mean, for fuck's sake, he's blowing them up and mashing them together, which, makes you want to have sympathy to the toys. Tell me, which is worse? Getting maimed while only invisible people know you exist, or having bad parenting lead to destructive actions? I rest my case.
Plus, Sid has no idea that he was blowing up sentient toys. If he had known that, chances are he would have put an end to his antics, which is what happened when Woody exposed the truth to Sid.
Your attempt at excusing his behavior makes this obvious redemption at the end puzzling. This is an obvious case of, you know what, no. I want to save that for my final thoughts. For now, next segment.
Poor unfortunate soul.
Ursula. They say never judge a book by its cover, so maybe we should all do the same when it comes to animated movie villains. Sure, Ursula from The Little Mermaid looks pretty darn evil, with her tentacles, purple skin, and white hair, but let's look at the facts. During the film, Ursula mentions that she used to live in Triton's palace, but for reasons ultimately unknown, she was banished. Now, while the film wants us to assume that Ursula was up to no good, wouldn't it make more sense to imprison her if that was the case? Triton is known to be, well, how shall we put this, something of a human hater and has a nasty temper, so it's possible that this is all Triton's fault.
This is purely hypothetical and doesn't really work here. What if Ursula was banished for trying to steal the Trident, the very item Ursula coveted throughout the movie, and even managed to grab it at the end? Not only does this make more sense within the context of the story, but it makes more sense than the King Trident had a hissy fit against her.
Think about it. If Ursula really wanted to harm Ariel, wouldn't she have cursed her or outright killed her to make a point? Instead, she gives Ariel a 3-day contract to decide for herself. Plus, she doesn't even force Ariel to sign. Well, that doesn't sound so sinister. She did end up causing havoc later in the film, but her pet eels did just die, so she's kinda justified.
Her pet eels died, so it's kinda justified. Her pet eels died, so it's kinda justified. Her pet eels. You're lucky I'm saving that point for my final thoughts. Ah!
But the hyenas actually had it really hard if you stop to think about it. As great and powerful as Mufasa was, he banished the hyenas from his kingdom and sent them to the elephant graveyard, a place full of skeletons and little light.
Probably because hyenas and lions are natural enemies. That being said, would you want to have enemies closing in around you waiting for that right moment to strike you down? Of course not, that'd be stupid. Unless you have a death wish, in which case I guess there are worse ways to go.
But where is it? Mermaid Lagoon?
Hook. We all know to fear Hook and cheer on Peter Pan in the classic film. Hook, the fearsome pirate, hunts down Peter incisively, which kind of makes it hard to sympathize with him. But what if we told you that we should have been cheering for Hook this whole time and scorning Peter Pan? Think about it. Peter Pan is a magical and immortal being who essentially kidnaps children and brings them to another land.
Do I need to remind you that it's at the promise of immortality and endless adventures? Alright, that is a bit shady, but we seem to forget that the Lost Boys, who are living with Pan and are doing quite well, are also a thing, and that it, at the very least, shows that Pan is taking care of them. I guess. Now, if we were going with the original story, where Peter would kill the Lost Boys once they got too old, then you would have a case, but this is the Disney super family-friendly version, where that obviously isn't a thing.
Hook's also shown himself to be trustworthy and respected as he captains his crew diligently. With Smee, he even shows off what could be described as a light friendship. When you compare all of that to Peter Pan, it makes us wonder just who we were supposed to root for.
Compare what? Are you saying that Peter doesn't have friendships built? Are you saying that Pan isn't that nice? Are you saying that Hook is actually more of a friendly person? Spit it out, man! Wait, what do you mean this is the end of the segment? I hate you. In fact, you know what? I'm ending the video here, because the argument made towards this video all boils down to the same rhetoric. So, final thoughts time. This video can be summed up into one phrase. The ends justify the means. That's basically what this list really boils down to. It's why I wanted to save this point for my final thoughts, as it's so broad of a point across the entire damn list, that I had to say it here for my final thoughts. Do we forget that these guys have done really terrible things, like how Ursula used Ariel's trusting nature for her own gains, or how Maleficent, who is at the tail end of this video, only cursed her because she felt left out of the ball. The only characters you listed here that I could agree with are the hyenas, because at least those means would push them to the choices they've made. Mind you that this doesn't justify their actions, as they were better options, but at least it wasn't as petty as everyone else was. Overall, this list's problems can be summed up with the list's alternative title, The Ends Justify the Means, The Countdown. And that's really it. I'd like to thank Michael Schomer for showing me the material that I used for this video, Keyblade Master for looking over the original script, and you, mysterious viewer, let me know what you think of this commentary. For now, goodbye.